I'm Jenny Jones. I'm a Senior Emergency Planning Officer with Lancashire County Council. So, as part of my job, as well as being an on-call duty officer, so first point of contact when any incidents come in to the council, I have work areas which I lead on, and one of those is humanitarian assistance. So, I chair a Lancashire group of humanitarian assistance and voluntary organisations who come together to focus on planning for how we would look after people during an incident, and how we would respond to that. So that is my main focus. The Humanitarian Assistance Lead Officer is a person who would, at the time of an incident, take up the role of coordinating any response that affects the needs of people. So they would be working at a strategic level. With the strategic coordinating group, and they would look at the information that's in the strategy that group sets, look at what people issues are within that strategy, and then take them away and make sure that those issues are considered. So I think for us, it was about making sure that humanitarian assistance was considered at a much earlier stage. So bringing in that humanitarian assistance lead officer has meant that from the outset, while other organisations are very much focused on what can we do to make sure this incident doesn't get any worse, there is always somebody now who's thinking of the people. So while everything else is a little bit chaotic, there's somebody there to bring that back into focus and make sure the people are really high up on the agenda. So our humanitarian assistance lead officer, our halo, goes to any incident where a strategic coordination group is activated. It's an automatic trigger for them, and they attend and kind of raise the profile of the needs of people. We've had that role for the last just over 12 months now. We brought it in April, and we've really seen a switch in the last few months, having had about 8 incidents where the halo's been deployed, a real switch in how people are thinking, and it's becoming much more of an engaged role within those strategic coordination group meetings now. So that's been a real positive for us, just seeing that start to creep up agendas.
So it's really interesting to hear, obviously, about how it impacts on and kind of thinking about people. And from, I suppose, my perspective, looking at the communication element, it would feel as though there's a real need to connect those two together, the communication and obviously the work that the humanitarian assistance lead officer, the Halo, is doing. Um, what do you feel about that kind of link between communication and obviously the Halo work?
So part of the role of the halo, that we train them for, is to be that single point of contact for any other groups that are set up, and one of those could be a warning and informing cell. So it would be that halo's responsibility to make sure, if we're putting messages out, that those messages are suitable, that what we're putting out isn't going to cause us any issues further down the line, and that we're not over promising on anything, which are the real key things. What we don't want to do is tell somebody that we're going to do something and find we can't do that, because what we do at the start can have a real big impact further down the line for people. So there will be a really close working relationship there. It's really important that we get some comms out quite early, because people will have a thirst for information, especially if there's people who are missing as part of an incident. Those loved ones are going to want information. So it's really important that we get something out quite quickly. So that liaison will be really, really important from that first strategic coordination group, if not before then. The Halo, well, they're all trained and they're all ready to go. So we could be having those conversations really early. But yes, certainly quick messages and making sure we're not over promising, I think, are the two real key factors for me. Yeah, so I think the halo role, because of the level that it's pitched at, we are talking directors or executive directors, so they do automatically come with that little bit more gravitas than other staff. So I do think that does lend itself to being that more sort of authoritative figure. Um, anybody that comes from local authority will tell you we're not always the trusted people. But I think that the level that we pitch it at and we make it that strategic level does help with providing that sort of comfort that what's being said is coming from somebody who's got a really sound knowledge. So I think some of the key things, firstly, it's that early conversations. It's making sure that we're joining up very quickly. I think one of the really important things is understanding that we're never going to please everybody. There Everybody will respond differently to an emergency, and everybody will have different needs at the time of an emergency. Some people will have had those needs before the emergency and think that we can meet them now. So it's really important that we understand that there are going to be negatives to this. We're not always going to get all the positives from dealing with people. But what our hope is that if we can focus from the outset and not kind of being playing catch up in terms of looking after people, then we can start to see those patterns that emerge and where people are a little bit disconcerted, where they're not quite as happy, and look at how we can address those and continue to issue those comms that are going to help people and plug the gaps where we think that we may have found them through those communications. So yeah, communication, working together, I think is really, really important for us. Yeah, so I think it's probably worth noting that at the moment, that the Halo role is a known role. It's not something that the Lancashire has gone off and done on a whim. It's already in position in London and has been for some time. But learning from the Grenfell Part 2 inquiry, has put recommendations in place that other areas should consider this. So we are on the front foot. We had started that work, and I'm sure other authorities will be working towards that now. But it is something that's been recommended by ADAS, the Association of Directors of Adult Social Services, and BASWA, the British Association of Social Workers. So it will be something that starts to be seen more and more, I think. But as I say, we've just been fortunate that we've been through some learning from previous exercises. We were already on the front foot with this. So it's something that we're going to see more and more, I think.